Well, look what I got. A new gun. So I'm at a gun store by my house that I've bought a lot of guns from. I had not planned on buying a gun. And I was in there talking to a friend of mine that works there that I know him pretty well. Just from buying guns there. I've been buying guns there for years now. And we're talking about stuff. It was like late at night, you know. There was really nobody in there. The place was getting ready to close. I was there doing an address change on my FOID card and my concealed carry permit, and we're talking, and I told him, you know what, man, because he knows I've had a lot of revolvers, old revolvers, and I told him, you know, I don't even own a semi-automatic pistol. I sold them all. Sold all the semi-autos that I've ever owned. So I don't even own one. But, and I figured I wasn't, you know, I'm just going to shoot revolvers. But I kind of got the itch for a CZ-97. Now, a number of years back, I had looked into getting a CZ-97. I kind of had the itch to get one a number of years back, and I inquired about it, and I found there was none at the gun store. I found out they're kind of rare, and I found out they're also kind of expensive. And, you know, for whatever reason, I just, you know, you get that urge to buy something, I guess, that itch. I guess it just wore off. I kind of forgot about it. You know, maybe I figured I'd see one day or something. But I really, to be honest with you, I just kind of completely forgot about it. But the reason that it appealed to me was because it's a .45. It's just a really bad gun, man. It's just a sick gun, you know. It's something that you could carry, that you could just own. It's just a really cool gun. When I mean carry, it's like a big, sick gun you carry in a shoulder holster, and you know, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's a bunch of rounds of .45 ACP. It's also a great range gun. I mean, everything about it I like. It's a CZ. Like, I like the CZ-75, but it's a 9mm. I don't buy 9mm. They don't do anything for me. I don't shoot enough that few cents savings per round is going to make any difference. I've always said you could shoot, you know, 100 rounds of 9mm or shoot 50 rounds of .45, or shoot whatever, 100 rounds of 9mm or shoot 50 rounds, 30 rounds of .357 Magnum. I mean, what's the difference? You can choose how much you're going to shoot. I mean, 9mm is expensive if you're going to go out and, you know, well, I shot 500 rounds. You hear people saying stuff like that. I own and use guns because I like them, but also for the function of them. If you are in your house with one loaded magazine or two loaded magazines, the most you're going to go from not shooting to shooting like 2 magazines. If you're walking around with your carry gun, you're going to go from not shooting to shooting 6 rounds with a revolver, or shooting whatever, 1 magazine, maybe 1 reload. You know, and that's even kind of fantasy that you're going to reload your gun and start shooting again. That's probably not ever going to happen to you. So I would almost rather train going from cold to boom, 6 rounds off of my revolver, and then be done shooting. And that seems silly. I'm not going to go to the range and shoot 6 rounds. But if I lived on a farm, maybe I would train like that. Once a week, go shoot, draw my gun, 6 rounds. Boom, you know, because that's real world. That's how you would use your gun. And that makes more sense than shooting 50 rounds and then not shooting for 4 months, 6 months, or a year. Because in reality, that's what people do. I mean, if you're going to the range every month to shoot, That's more than most people shoot. Now me, I'm kind of all over the place. There's been times where I'll shoot a whole bunch and then I won't shoot, depending on what's going on. But anyway, let's get to this gun, guys. I try and talk a little bit because it's kind of boring, just open a gun, show a bunch of garbage. Oh, you gotta push a button here. These locks, the reason I saved this, it's actually a good bike lock for like a junky bike because it doesn't weigh anything, and so you're not carrying around that big heavy U-lock. You're just locking up a cheap bike to run the store real quick. I wouldn't lock something like this overnight, but for a quickie lock, these are actually really good bicycle locks. Certainly wouldn't put it on my gun, let's put it that way. So why did I buy this gun? Oh, I told the guy, I've been looking for a CZ-97. You know, I'm kind of getting the urge for a CZ-97 if I ever come across one. I'm just making conversation, kind of talking out of my butt, you know what I mean? And he's like, well, guess what? It's your lucky day. We've got a brand new one. And I'm like, get out of here. And I went, I'm like, all right, let me check it out. He hands me, he doesn't even ask for my FOID card because he knows me. I probably shouldn't say that. I didn't say who it was or where it was, but he hands me this gun, and I put this in my hand. And when he said that we have one, I was already like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. But I'm like, let me see it. I want to make sure it wasn't some goofy model, because I told him. He showed this to me, and I seen it was the 97B, which is the no decocker. I refuse to own a gun with a decocker. This is the one. A B is no decocker. This would say CZ-97B D if it had a decocker. And when I was like, oh man! I put this in my hand. I'm like, oh, this is the B too. No decocker. This is the one I want. So to make a long story short, we do the paperwork. I get 10% off because I know the guy. And 10% off of, I don't know if you guys saw this. Look, I live in Chicago, man. $789. Damn. That's a lot of money. That's a heck of a lot more than a CZ-75. Now, that's a lot. I don't know. I got 10% off. You know, but guns are expensive here in Chicago. This is an oddball gun. But man, everything about this gun, now I have not shot it yet. So if it doesn't run right, things could change. But I already know how CZ-75 shoot. I'm assuming if the gun runs, then I'm really going to like it. I know about the triggers and everything, so... And the way the size of the gun, it's a big grip. The trigger's out front. I have really big hands. I got long fingers. You know, my favorite gun of all time, handgun, is my Colt Trooper Mark III, which I carry in a shoulder holster. It's a big gun, huge grip, and this gun's got a huge grip. And it fits my hand great. It's just a big gun, and this is not a belt holster gun. I'm going to get a shoulder holster for it, vertical shoulder holster. And you guys see too, the gun is empty. You know, it comes with two mags. I am not going to use either of these. What do you mean you're not going to use them? I'm going to order 2 brand new Mechars, and I'm just going to have these laying around. Maybe one day I'll put a few rounds through them just to make sure that they function. But to be honest with you, I don't even think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to leave them, because then I have to clean them. You don't have to clean your magazines, but I always clean my magazines after I shoot. I pop this out, clean them. I like everything of mine nice and clean. I'm going to just run the Mechars. I've heard a few bad things about these, and I haven't read anything bad about the Mechars. Not about the feeding, but the problem. Someone broke a piece of the lip off or had some problems with these. So I'm going to order the Made in Italy Mechars, the blued ones. And then the floor plates are just flat. They don't have this plate with the Met guards, which I like too. It'll be... So I'm not even going to shoot these. I'll just keep them brand new, and if I ever sell the gun, then you'll have 2 really nice magazines. Which I'm sure I'm not planning on selling it, because I wanted one of these for a while. Now look, see this gun, the setup, the configuration, cocked and locked. You can carry it cocked and locked. There's no decocker. It's not ambi, because I refuse to own a semi-auto that has ambi safety. I hate that. Why would I want a safety sticking out over here that I'm not going to use? It doesn't make any sense. And does not have ambi safety. I'm just listing all the features about this gun that it's hard to find. Like, I'm a very picky person when it comes to guns. And this gun doesn't have anything that I dislike about it. It's like for revolvers, my Colt Trooper. There's nothing about that gun. I've owned a lot of guns. There's nothing about that gun that I don't like. Whereas every gun I've owned, Glock, whatever gun it is, there's always something that I don't like. Where the trigger breaks, there's always something. It's always something. Like a little J-frame revolver. I don't like that it's 5 rounds. I wish it was 6. I always said that the J-frame should be 6 rounds. Same size, everything, but just make it 6 rounds. Who wants a 5-shot revolver? Not me. Glock, what don't I like about the Glock? The trigger. I don't like that you have to pull the trigger to disassemble the gun. I think when you pull a trigger on a gun, for me, when I pull a trigger, it should be to fire the gun. Period. Unless you're specifically, now I have a video up that contradicts that, where I'm specifically doing dry fire with a double action revolver. That's a little bit different. I'm specifically set aside time to pull the long double action and practice dry firing that way. So that's a little bit different though, but that, you ever see, they rack the slide to show the gun's empty, pull the trigger. But muscle memory is a huge part of what you do in your daily life, and you might just go rack the slide to load the gun and pull the trigger with a Glock, and people have done that before. And so I just don't like, and the reason that gun is like that is because the guy that built the Glock was not a gun guy. He wasn't a gun guy. He was just a guy who built a gun. He did a great job, but there's things about it that people that are really into guns maybe wouldn't like. There's a lot of features about a Glock, and I'm one of those people. It's just like, I understand its reliability, but it's lacking a little bit of common sense, I guess you would say. There's a lot of things about it I just don't like. And then not to mention the triggers. The trigger on a Glock, in my opinion, is very lousy. I don't like the triggers on them. And that's another thing. A guy that's really into guns knows that they want a really good trigger. The guy that designed Gaston Glock, he was not a gun guy. So he's like, this system will fire the bullet. And it does. And the gun's very reliable. But it's not that real nice, sweet trigger that a lot of gun guys, including me, really like. So anyway, I'm not bashing those other guns. I'm just giving you my reasons why I like this gun. Now, here's another one. Okay, people want to compare this to a 1911 because it's a 45, so they're going to want to, you should have got a 1911, this and that. The reason, one of my friends asked me that. I kind of go in this, I don't know if anybody's still listening, but the reason, this will give my thoughts on 1911. Nothing compares to a 1911. It is one of the greatest guns of all time. It's been around for 100 years. But nothing compares to it, but also things, they don't compare to it, but that doesn't mean that they're not better. You see what I'm getting at? A Glock, to me, is an outdated military pistol. And a target competition gun. That's it. Well, I don't I'm not planning on, now there's nothing wrong with that. You want to own a pistol that's an outdated military pistol, and a military pistol, it's neat, you want to own it. But as far as what I use a gun for, carrying a gun, shooting a gun, I do a little bit of everything. It doesn't fall into what I need out of a gun. Okay, the reason I say that it's either a target gun or an outdated military pistol, I say it's outdated, it doesn't hold enough rounds. If I'm going to walk around with a 7-round magazine, well, I'm just going to carry a revolver, because a revolver is more reliable. In fact, there's 7-round revolvers, there's 8-round revolvers out there now. So, and you say, oh, it's 8 rounds versus 6. Well, yeah, but you reload. You're at 7 rounds. You reload with a speed loader, you're at 6 rounds. So it's really 1 more round. 2 more rounds, yeah, I get it. And then also, you got single action only. So if you found yourself in a situation with a 1911, cocked and locked, and you've uncocked your gun, and not uncocked, but you've unlocked your gun, and you're holding your gun on somebody. For some reason, you thought you were going to have to shoot, and you didn't shoot them, and you got your gun pointed at them. You're going to point that gun with that 1911, perfect trigger, by the way, perfect. But that hair trigger, you're going to hold that gun on somebody? Not in this day and age with the laws that we have. And guys, there's cops in jail right now, in prison. I'm talking shackled feet, shackled hands, orange jumpsuit, that have accidentally shot people. It doesn't matter if you're a cop, a civilian. If you accidentally shoot somebody, you are going to be in jail. I'm talking shackles, man, an orange jumpsuit. And that is not something that I'm going to carry around. I don't care. I'm not bashing any guns. If that's what somebody wants to do, then be my guest. Go do what you do. I think you should be able to carry whatever you want to do, but the reality is, it's too hair of a trigger. Now, yeah, this, after you've shot your first round, I'm going to get to how I wouldn't carry this cocked and locked. It's a long double action pull. After you've maybe shot one, you've already shot, you are at that point where you're in single action. But even then, this does not have a hair trigger. It's got creep. Whereas a 1911, man, at least the ones I've shot, it's just like, boom. It almost feels like the trigger is electronic. That's what a 1911 is. The trigger is so good for shooting, but not. That's why I won't carry that. Not to mention that the tension on the spring all the time, sitting there like that, day after day. When you could have a double action pull and just alleviate that. So now here's another thing I like about this gun. I had a Beretta 84 that I used to carry. And it was like there was this configuration. It was one of the very first ones that didn't have a decocker. You had to manually decock it. You could carry it cocked and locked, or you could carry it with the hammer all the way down, safety off. You could also carry it hammered down, safety on, which I never liked, because I would carry it hammered down, safety off. But I didn't like that the safety could get pushed, and if I drew my gun, I would go to fire and the safety would be on. And then it was ambidextrous, which I didn't like. Because now the other side, that's probably where it would accidentally get engaged, not here or either side. Now you have 2 sides where it could potentially get engaged. This gun, hammered down, there's no safety. This gun, it's as if there's no safety. You can only use the safety when it's cocked. And I thought, man, that is really cool. These people are thinking like I'm thinking. Now, what else about guns that I don't like? There's a million guns out there. You go to a gun store right now, they got read instructions over here. They got make sure you do this. They got some obnoxious stuff on the slide over here. This doesn't, man. It's perfect. Made in Czech Republic. 97B, 45 auto. there's nothing about this gun that's aesthetically disgusting. It's really cool, really military cool. I like the finish on it. And look at the grips, man. These grips are knurled aluminum. It's a cold hammer forged barrel. It came with fiber optic sights. I mean, I was really, and I don't like the dots. I like the dot in the front. So I actually might black these out to get rid of the dots. I might paint all this black, just fill them in. But man, so far, so like, I mean, really, like, there's so many, like, I have a bunch of criteria because I'm really OCD when it comes to guns. And this gun, man, it just really fell into like, wow. Even though none of those things might not seem that great, you go to a gun store, man, and like, you got Smith & Wessons, they got all this stupid writing on the side, and Ruger's the worst for that. There's always something, you know, that's just obscene about the gun. And this gun doesn't have any of that. They do make this in a blued finish. It's pretty nice looking, but I almost kind of like this finish better because it can't rust. You can handle it all you want. It might get chipped, and if it were to, you know, if this finish gets scratched off, you just take some, you know, a little black, flat black paint and touch it up, and it's very tactical looking. It's just a really badass looking gun, man. The beaver tail is perfect. The grip, you know, the grip of the CZ-75 is basically like a high power, which is one of the probably the best grips ever. This grip is much wider, but it still has that same. It's like if it's like a CZ-75 grip in a 1911 grip, kind of feeling. You know, one thing about the 1911 is the grip is so slender that you can really point the gun. I mean, you just point the gun and you're on target because this is so slim. You know, when the grip is more round, you hold it, it feels the same. You could be holding it like this, and it almost feels the same if you're holding it like this. You see what I'm getting at? When this is, it's more thin like that, it naturally is going to point. You see what I'm saying? It's going to point the way your hand is. You can feel where the gun is pointing. And that's one thing a 1911 is great at. Also, this is a little bit of a different gun. The grip is not as fat as all the polymer, you know, FN, whatever, Glock, what's it, the Glock 21. It's not as fat. It's not a true double stack magazine. It's kind of a staggered magazine. So it's a cross between a double stack and a single stack, which means it only holds 10 rounds instead of like 12. But hey, you're looking at 11 rounds of 45 ACP. All right, that's pretty cool. And now you got to remember, I'm factoring in all the things I like about this gun. Oh, and it's all steel. I'm just not into polymer guns, guys. I'm just not. So, even though it's a couple rounds less, the slim grip and what I'm hoping is going to be the shootability of this gun. I have not shot it yet, but I'm just doing a show and tell. I kind of wanted to, the reason I want to shoot is I literally just walked in the door. I wanted to give you a little bit of that, like, that new gun owner excitement, kind of put that in the video a little bit. And hopefully that's coming out in the video. I'll make another video. But really, man, just so many things about this gun that I really liked. And I'm just really excited about this purchase. The guide rod is full length. It's polymer. And guess what? I'm going to leave it as the polymer guide rod. It's a full length guide rod. What else? I'm not sure if there's a wolf spring. I'm going to have to go in there, but these new ones are supposed to be really nice. They got a good track record. The machining of the slide is a little bit better than back in 97 when they first came out. And I haven't heard anything good about these guns, so I'm assuming it's going to run great. But regardless of how good a gun runs, if it's got some criteria or something about it that you don't like, you will end up selling off the gun, which is why I've owned so many guns. This gun doesn't have anything that I dislike about it. So if it's a shooter, man, and look at the slide, it's unreal. I didn't even dry fire it at all, but the slide is really, really nice, man. It really is. Really nice. So I'm gonna order those Mekar magazines, take this to the range, and break this bad boy in. I'm gonna clean it and put fresh lube and everything. But look at that barrel. I'm not pointing at myself, by the way. I'm off to the right. And also too, I've seen it with like a silver. This has got like a black finish on it, which I like too. And I may get a steel guy rod at some point down the line. There are some things you can buy for these. And in the future, all that's available now is 10-round magazines. But maybe Mekar will come out with like a 12-round magazine, which would probably stick out just a little bit. That's really what they need to do. Because in a shoulder holster, what's the difference if you got a magazine sticking out a little bit more? So who knows, maybe they will come out with one. If not, 11 rounds. That's 5 more rounds than a revolver. Because when I carry my trooper, I don't carry a speed loader. I carry 6 rounds and that's it. And it's the same with this gun. I won't be carrying 2 extra magazines. I'll be carrying a shoulder holster with this with 11 rounds and that's it. I don't carry all that stuff. It's too much weight. I'm already carrying a big heavy gun. I'm not planning on ever shooting that many rounds. So that's just something. I'm being honest. I know that, well, that sounds dumb. Most people probably aren't honest about that, but I'm being honest. I don't carry speed loaders and I don't carry spare magazines. So 11 rounds of 45 ACP is enough for me, I guess. I mean, yeah, I would carry more, but I just, in my experience, a shoulder holster that wraps around the other side of your body, of your shoulder, nice and tight, nothing dangling on the other side, is the most comfortable and just what seems to be best for me. And if I'm walking, that's just more weight on my legs and everything. I'm already carrying a heavy gun, which I don't mind. I definitely won't mind carrying this. So, just guys, I'm just so stoked on this, and that's a little bit of my gun, my OCD gun owner thoughts and a look into my brain, I suppose. But man, I'm really stoked to get this gun. And if anybody's still watching, hey, I'm glad you are. I suppose most people would enjoy listening to me talk for 30 minutes, but I just did. And it comes with a barrel bushing too. That's another thing about this gun. It's actually got a barrel bushing. Look at that. So it's definitely a unique gun. And man, I can't even tell you. So cool. I just hope it runs good, and it should. If I don't see another video up, that means it's running great. No worries. But I will make another video on it, I'm sure. Alright, I'll see you guys later.